Hi, I'm Jack. Welcome to the channel. Today we're talking about the MPC 1 and building some templates. Let's do this. All right. So, why might you want a template? Well, when you're ready to open up your MPC and you've got an idea in your head, you want it to be a very quick process from when you get the idea in your head to when you can start putting something down on the MPC 1. And as you can see here, if you hit the folder icon, if you hit new, what we have here is a completely blank project, right? This is a great place to start because that means any changes you make will be deliberate, which you can then save to the template that you want. So I like to start with drums. And so I'm gonna leave this on this pad icon right here. Let's name everything so we know what we're dealing with. I'm just gonna call this default drums. That way I know when I open this up, this is the pack that I'm used to seeing the second I start up, right? So default drums. What we're now gonna do is we're gonna make our drum program. So we're gonna name that program drums 1. So what I like to do with the drums is I like to have 4 different mini kits that are just ready to go, right? So I'll fill this first row up with kicks. I'll then have snares. I'll then have closed and opened hi-hats. That makes it a lot easier for me to find the sounds that I want when I'm ready to put an idea down, right? All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna browse, right? So we're gonna hit browse here, and you can go to the built-in sounds that are within the MPC. So what you would do there is you go to drums here. Now you can find kits that are pre-built, right? You'll see when we play these, we start getting an idea of what's in the kit, right? You can, let's stop that. By the way, if your MPC is ever making sound and you want it to just stop, double tap that stop button and it'll stop what it's doing, right? So say this is here, I don't want to hear that anymore. Double tap stop, it's done. Makes it a lot easier to browse through sounds. So you can find a kit that way. You can actually also go to individual waveforms. So you can see we have a bar on the top here. This drum pad, those are kits. But we can also go here to individual sounds. So you can say, let's say you want a hip hop sound. You can type in hip. You can see here, right? A bunch of sounds that people think would work in a hip hop kit. So you can find your samples that way, but I have my samples on my SD card, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to my samples, go to my one shots, and what I would suggest is have all of your sounds nicely organized so it's easy when you get to a point like this to find exactly what you want. So I'm gonna start with kicks. Even in my kicks folder, I have organization here, right? Things that I've made, things that may fit hip hop more, things that are more deep and low, acoustic, with highs, right? So I do this so that now when I'm ready to find some kick sounds, I can find what I'm looking for a lot easier. In this case, let's start with something acoustic, right? So what you want to do with your kicks, and really almost all samples when you're building something from like the basics, right, is just that first transient part, right? Don't sit there and listen to the entirety of every single kick. Don't listen to that reverb. Just find that little first transient. You'll find the sounds you want a lot quicker. You can shape it a little bit better later. So let's go through these pretty quickly. Find something that we think works. All right, I like this one a lot. So what you want to do is pick the pad you want it to be on and then click in that main stick, and now that sample lives on that pad. So let's find a few more. Let's see if I can find another acoustic-like kick before I find more different ones for my other rows. You know what, that's a pretty good one. Pretty different from my first kick. So we'll add that one in there, and then let's back up, find something a little bit more different. Let's go hip hop and lo-fi, see what we can find here. I like that one, right? So we have these two already, and then that's fairly different. So I'm gonna add that in here, and then we're gonna find one more. All right, now for example, I like this one. That's a pretty good kick, but pretty similar to this one. I feel like with a little bit of shaping, I could make this sound exactly like that. So we're just gonna skip past that one, find something more unique. I'm liking this one. We're gonna put that one on there. Now we have 4 separate kicks that we can work with. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna find ourselves a snare. It's probably the best place to start, right? Kick and snare. And so let's go to our snare folder and we'll find 4 sounds that we think might fit with these kicks here. So let's start off with some acoustic, right? We pick some acoustic kicks. Let's do the same for snares. We're just gonna speed through these, find what we think works. That's pretty good. What you wanna do is play your kick, see what sounds the best with that snare. This, right, that works pretty well. So we're gonna hit that second pad. We're gonna add that snare. Now we've got our kick and snare for this first kit. Let's see what else we can find. All right, I like this. I like that snare. I believe it goes with this, or at least something I could shape out of that would go well with that snare. So we're gonna go here, add that snare in. Let's back up, find something a bit more unique. Okay, once again, here's a pretty good snare. Oh, those are different enough, we'll add it. All right, we're gonna add this snare right here. Now always make sure that pad is green where you want it before you click, and then it's gonna live right there. All right, so let's add some hi-hats and we'll be good. So let's go to our hi-hats folder. Let's start with our closed hi-hats. We're just gonna find 4 that are pretty different. It doesn't really matter that much with your hi-hats. You can do some shaping there. So let's just find 4, pop them in. You wanna make sure they're different enough. Those are different enough. We'll add that one, and then we'll add 2 more. I like this one. Pop that one in. All right, I like that one. Now we've got 4 hi-hats. Cool. Let's get those open ones in and we'll be done building our drum part of this template. All right, that's a good one. Now, the one thing you want to do here, and it might help actually if you go ahead and go to Program Edit, and we're going to go to our mute groups, right? So make sure you're on the master part. Hit your hi-hats and just put them all on mute group 1. So tap, turn, tap, turn, tap, turn, right? We're just turning these into mute group 1. That way, when you put your open hi-hats in, right, you can see how they'll play together a little bit better. So let's go back to browse. We'll keep adding some more open hi-hats. Now with your open hi-hats, you want to make sure that you're picking open hi-hats that work with your closed hi-hats, right? These work pretty well, right? You want something believable. All right, these work. We'll do that. Yeah, see, it's a little bit easier now that you can hear how they'll choke each other off. We've got 2 more to add and we'll finish this up. That'll work. Now we're looking for something that's, I guess, a little bit more textural, right? Something to go with that. I like that. That'll work. See? Right? Works pretty well. It's another reason why you don't want to sit around and listen to the end of that. While it might be useful for an open hi-hat, right? A lot of the time it's that transient that you're really after. All right, so we've got this. We're almost done with the drums part. Now, the last thing you're gonna wanna do is gonna save you a lot of annoyance later on is you're gonna go to menu, go to pad color, and we're gonna change this to fixed single pad, right? That's what we have up here in the top corner. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna make all of these kicks, whatever color you want really. I like red for my kicks. I like orange for my snares. I'll go yellow for my closed hats. By the way, if you don't want to hear it every time, just tap the screen. And then we're gonna go green for our open hi-hats. And now, whenever we open up our template, we will be greeted immediately by our drum kits. We'll have 4 different flavors to work with, and it'll make it a lot quicker and easier to just start laying something out, right? Right, so now I could have my idea and kind of figure out what works best with it. I think it makes it a lot quicker when you have an idea to just sit down and get it out. Cool. Cool. Now going with that, the other thing I like to do is I'm gonna take this off of master. I'm gonna pick kind of my favorite tempo I like to work at. Let's go ahead, for me, I'm just gonna pop it up 96, why not? All right. So the last thing you want to do before we move on is click on the bars, pick what you want. I like to stick with 2 because when I have an idea, right, it's kind of that 2-bar loop that you can then massage and make into what you want. I'm gonna stick with 2 because when I sit down to make my project, I'm gonna just want to get it out in one go and then I can play with it later. I don't need to get 4 bars filled up the first time I sit down and press record. Now with that, we are gonna move on from our drum kit and we're gonna set up other tracks that we might want. So another thing, as you can see, I have some external gear. If you do, I think this is another thing to add to your channel. We're gonna add a MIDI channel. So go hit the pencil icon. We're gonna go to the top here and let's just name this MIDI. Make it easy. And now, usually what might happen is you sit down and let's say you want to get a melody out, you've got your device sitting there ready. You'll go to MIDI, you'll start tapping and nothing happens. You're going to have to figure out why nothing happens and that's going to take some time. You might lose your idea, right? So let's set this up. Luckily, I know why nothing is happening. Got to set my MIDI port. I'm going to change that to MPC. Now when I hit these buttons, I start hearing my MIDI channel 1. We can change that to 2, right? We can go to 3. Really opens up your possibilities there. You can just get your idea out the second you open this up because you have a track 2 that is MIDI that is ready to go. So another thing you might want to do, you just have basically whatever the basic template is here on the pads. What I like to do is I like to double tap this button here. By the way, that's another good shortcut. You can always hit the shift button and hit whatever button leads to what you want. For example, the red here says notes. So if I tap that, it brings me to the pad perform menu. Now, that takes 2 hands. It takes some time. Any of these red symbols, you can just double tap that pad and as you can see it opens it up immediately, right? So let's say I want to go to Qlink edit, double tap that, now we're in the Qlink menu. Let's say I want to go to pad mix, double tap that, I'm in pad mix, hit it again, track mix, it's a lot quicker. So what I was saying, we have our MIDI set up, so let's double tap this and pick something that I guess is more of the flavor of what you lean towards, right? So for example, I've been having a lot of fun with E and we'll change this to blues because I think that's a lot more fun when I open up my MPC. I've got a patch ready, right? It's a little bit more fun to play with that than just that kind of vanilla setup it starts off with. The other thing I'm going to do is back this up to -2 because then I'm not going to lose any part of my patch. You can always do that later, but now that I'm on bank A, you can see this is about as low as it gets on the keyboard. B, C, D, and again, if you double tap, you can see we have the last bit of the keyboard here. This is going to be a bit intense, right? You've got more freedom when you open this up if it's already set up and baked into your template. Cool, so that's MIDI. We're gonna leave those alone. I think having a default drums and a MIDI is a good place to start. Another thing you can do is you can set up another channel and we'll call this plugins. Hit do it. So what I like to do here is just maybe have some plugins ready to go. Plugins don't take up too much memory, too much space, so you can just kind of set up a basic one and you'll have quicker plugins that are more to your taste. You can always make different templates that are set up different ways. One that, let's say, you like to use to make synthwave music, another one you like to do hip hop with. You can have multiple templates. You can only have one that's ready to go with that user template button, but you can always pick them out later. You can always reload them. It's nice to have a templates folder, honestly, on your SD card, because then you can have different flavors ready to go. All right, so plugins. Let's do a few things here. Let's say bass. You know, sometimes maybe you just want to lay a quick bass line down and you don't want to take too much time to get it set up. Let's have bass. We're gonna have this on bass line. Let's just pick a preset that we like. I like that. So now we've got our bass. I really like this pad. That's a quick way to maybe add a little bit of interest to any project, you know. Could do something deep and growling like that. You know, this seems like a patch that could be used with a lot of diversity. So I'm gonna put that on here and we're just gonna name that pad. Cool. Now what we have here is we have our default drums, we have a MIDI channel that we can use for whatever external gear we want, and we have a few plugins that are ready to go, right? We can go to plugins, we can pick a pad, a bass, really whatever you want to put there. Don't put too many. You don't want always like 15, 16 different plugins just loaded up every time you open up a project. We want to keep this a little bit more bare bones, but I like to have 2 or 3 just loaded up, ready to go. It's a little bit quicker that way. Now, that's it for our tracks. There's a few more things in here that you actually would like to bake into your template. Let's go over those. One thing I like is I like to go to my Qlinks here, and I like to play with Qlinks. Now, if you haven't done much with Qlinks, let me tell you about them real quick. Qlinks are these knobs right here in this button. You can see when we hit this, we're cycling through 4 different sets of 4 parameters, right? It usually lives on screen mode, which is incredibly useful because on whatever screen you're on, you see you have access to different things. This is one thing you want to bake into your template. I like to have the metronome only play when I'm in record mode, right? It can be set to play record. So now you hear that lovely metronome just when you want to hear your beat. It's fine if you like that. I don't. I want it to just play when it's recording. So now that I've hit record, you can hear our metronome is back. The other thing I like to do is I like to turn it down a little bit. That way the metronome is how I want every time I open up my MPC. Now, as you can see what I was saying before, we're on screen mode. So while you're on the main screen, these are the options that you get. There's other fun things here. We'll have another video about Qlinks because I think they're incredibly powerful on this device. But you can see each page has 4 different values that you can change just on a whim. If you go to Program Edit, we are in a plugin. So if you look here, we have a box that is jumping around. That means if we turn this, we'll change our amp attack. Here, we can change our amp decay, right? That makes it really quick on whatever page you're on to change what you want. Let's say you are in your drum track. If we go there, we can go to our envelopes and you can see that box is jumping around, giving us the ability to change these values in very quick ways, right? So, very useful. But you can see when you double tap that button and go to your Qlink edit page that there are other ways to use these. Let me demonstrate this with something fairly quick and easy. I actually think that the pad scene is a very well laid out default. And so if we're sitting here on our drum pads, if you ever don't see the colors, make sure you're on the right bank. What we can do is we can, on a whim, change our sends, right? So the reason I'm starting with sends is you hear that this currently doesn't do anything. Well, we can change that pretty easily. What we're gonna do is go to track mix. We're gonna tap up here where it says mixer programs, and we're gonna turn this until it says returns. Those sends can be sounds, it can be the whole track, it can be the whole program, to a specific list of inserts. And so what I do is I like to go to return 1 and I like to add in a reverb. Everyone likes to add reverb. It seems like every project you have, you'll add some sort of reverb, so why not have one baked into your template? Let's just make it a nice middle ground reverb. So for me, let's just go to Air Reverb. We're gonna hit the pencil icon and I'm gonna just do a basic medium, right? That way, whenever I open up my MPC, I can take this and I can go to Qlinks and click pad scene. The more comfortable you are with this button, by the way, the better. Qlinks are amazing. But you can double tap that, tap pad scene, and now, really quickly, you can add a reverb, right? As much as you want. You can add it to your sounds. You can always go back later, right? You can go to track mix, you can go to air reverb, and you can change it to something more specific to the sound you're after, but at least you can get there quicker when the idea is in your head. So I'm gonna turn that send off because I don't want that baked into my template. The other one I like to add is we'll go to the return to. We're gonna add ourselves a basic delay. For me, the air delay preset repeater 16th is a pretty good delay. It's just your basic middle ground delay. You can see here that it's our kick, right? It's a pretty basic delay, so I like to have that in there. If you want to play with your reverb and your delay to kind of shape them towards your middle ground, go for it, bake it into your template. Just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to leave those as my basic ones. Now you can add more, right? Return 3, I like to have a combination of both, so I can always add a little bit of reverb and delay at the same time. In return 4, you can just kind of put something fun in there, right? If there's something you always use, some plugins, some set that you always like to apply to things, then just bake it in to one of these returns and it's going to make your life a lot easier. All right, let's go back to that Qlink menu. So we've talked about screen mode. We're going to go to pad perform. You'll see when you go to pad parameters that the default is that this changes the level of whatever pad you're specifically on, right? For example, you can see I'm turning down that kick, the level. Conversely, let's put that back at 0. Let's say we're doing this snare. You can see that changes the level of the snare. Now that's not bad. That can be useful. There's better ways to do that, I think, than wasting one entire Qlink grid. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually click program, and I like to change this to tuning. The reason is what we have now is let's say we're open our project up, we double click Qlink and we change this to pad parameter. Now what we can do is we can change the tuning of these sounds. So we can take this kick, turn it down some, we can turn it up. So let's say you laid out an idea, right? I'm just gonna play this little drum loop. What you can do now is you can actually tune every part of this. Right, well, let's start with the hi-hat so you can kind of see what I mean. So you can see that it's a lot quicker to change things how you like it, right? Let's say I'm going to start with this kick, but I don't quite like it how it sounds. Well, I'm going to click the second Qlink, and that first one tunes that pad now. And so that makes it a lot quicker to really kind of nail down those sounds after you get your idea out. So that's why I like to leave this Qlink on tuning. Okay, so let's go to pad scene. Like I said before, I think this is really well set up. I'm not going to make any changes here, but feel free to change anything you think you might want to add. Program mode, there's a few things I like to add here. We can go to, you see it's got these first two set up. I like that they have mute, solo, pan, volume, right? They have the send set up for the entire program. What we're gonna do is we're gonna click that top one, we're gonna click program, and now we can change this to master semitune. And we'll change this one, once again, in program to master fine tune. Let me show you why that's good to have. Now, let's say I've got this beat how I want it. What I can do is I can go here, right? We put it in the third row, and I can actually change the tuning of the entire part of the song, right? I can change these drums to anything I want. So see, if we turn this all the way up to what? Plus 21 on the master tune, it almost sounds like a cool little percussion beat now. You can also go to the fine, kind of fine tune how you like it. I like it right there at the middle ground now. Oh, you know what? Let's add that little bit there. So now I can kind of make this into something completely different from where we started, right? Just because I can click the Qlink edit menu, I can put this into program mode, and then I know that on this third row, I've got my master and fine control. So I'm gonna zero those back out because once again, I don't want to hard bake that into my template. Cool. So we've talked about program, pad scene, pad parameter, and the always useful screen mode. There's also project mode. There's not really much I like to do here. Really, a lot of this can be useful if you have a process down from going from beat all the way to exporting. Let's say you have specific way you like to set up your your submixes, right? If you like to do specific things on your masters, if you have different ins and outs that you like to work with, you can hard bake all that into here as well. I don't think that's necessarily all that useful for everyone, but if you have very useful things you like to put in here, leave them down in the comments, and maybe we can all learn something new here. Yeah. Okay, so what we've done here is we've created our default drums, we've got our MIDI, we've got our plugins, just a handful that we like, just ready to go, and we've also played with our Qlink mode. Okay, so I mean, there's a handful of other things you can do. For example, in Program Edit, if we go to these drum effects on the second page, I hardly ever just use the high pass. I mean, sometimes it's useful, right? But why have that be a default that comes up? I like to change this to something more fun, like wave folder. This bit crust, decimator, the wave folder, I think those are a lot of fun. And once again, when you're just opening up your MPC to have fun, it's nice to have something like these three that can really warp a sound into something completely new. For example, let's go back to this kick here. So you see when I hit these Qlinks, nothing's happening. I'm gonna double tap Qlink Edit. I'm gonna go back to screen mode, go right back to Program Edit. That took me a second and a half. Once you get that down, things are gonna go a lot more smoothly for you, because at any point you can double tap Qlink. You can change it to whichever one you want. Let's say pad scene, right? And now I can come in here and I can warp these shapes to my liking, right? I can come here, I can lower the level. Let's say I want to pan it to the right. Let's come up here and add some reverb. And then we can also, we can put in some filter envelope and some tuning, right? We can play with it very quickly and then double tap Qlink, click screen, go back to what we were doing. And it's a much quicker process. You're gonna really up your speed on making your ideas into reality if you get used to this Qlink edit. We'll have another video about it. But back to the template, what I like to do is I like to come to this high pass one because I hardly ever use it. And I'm gonna change that to wave folder. And now that we've got our Qlink edit back to screen mode, what we can do is we can actually sit here and play with our sound a little bit more. So let's wave fold it. That gives it a nice little crunch. We can come over here, give it a bit crush. Right? So we've created something completely new, just having fun here, right? So this is another page. They just added this in 2.10. A lot of fun. Try to get it set up a little bit more how you like to start. Obviously, you're going to want everything zeroed out, right, in these menus for your template. But play around a bit and find the 8 that you kind of like to lean towards when you're having fun and shaping sounds. All right. The only other thing that's fun to get set up is this XY effects. So if we double tap that button, we can say insert the XF, so it's XY FX, right? And the reason it's that is you have this XY grid here that you can apply effects to. As you can see, it's got that kind of like that DJ effect, right? Where you're ramping the cutoff in the beat division. That's okay. I'm gonna change that because that's not really what I lean to when I play with this. What I like to do with this, and once again, there's a lot of options, do what you like. But for me, I like to make this tape stop. I think tape stop's a lot of fun when you're just playing with the beat, right? So if we are done with our setup, right? It's fun. You can set your XY effects however you want. Once again, why not bake it into your template? Cool. Now the last thing to do is to save our template. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go Shift, Save. By the way, double tapping that doesn't bring up save, so you're never gonna accidentally save your project. This is one of the only ones where you need to hold down Shift and hit Save, and you're gonna title this what you want. Now where you save this is important. Do not save it internally on the MPC. You don't really want to ever save anything internally on the MPC. Save this onto your SD card. I like to save it here on the main page, but once you get more templates, it's good to make a template folder. So you can always say new folder, templates, and now in here you can call this what you want. So I'm going to call this general template. All right, so now we're going to save general template as a template right here. Make sure you click that as a template and click save, and it's going to go ahead and save that project. So now when you open up a new project, let's say you go to main, hit that folder, go to new. You don't have to have that blank template sitting out. You don't have to pick one of their pre-generated kits. You have the one you built ready to go. All you need to do is go here and click user template. It won't take very long to load up because you didn't add too much to it, but here you go, right? Now you've got those kits you set up. You can see I messed up. If we go here to Qlink edits, we go to program or go to pad scene, you can see that I left my send. Messed up there. So let's say that happens to you. Let's say you save something in your template that you don't like. Well, fix it first. So here I'm going to change the things that I did not mean to bake in. So 6 and 127 is the default. I'm gonna leave that. By the way, just another aside, this is another fun way to use the Qlinks. If you do want to play with your sounds, you can double click Qlink and you can go to pad scene, click on a pad, and then you can see exactly what you're playing with. Once you do this a few times, you're gonna start knowing where you're supposed to be. And so you won't even have to look at this screen. You can just double tap Qlink, go back to what you're doing. But another easy way to get used to the Qlinks. So I've changed what I wanted to change. Now what you can do is you can click main, you can click that folder, and we're gonna click save as, okay? We're gonna go back to the place where we saved our template, right? So for me, I have my new templates folder. Go in there, go to general template, and if you double tap it, you'll give it the same name. Make sure once again, you click save as template, hit save, and you're gonna overwrite your old template with the problems fixed. I hope that's helpful. So hope you enjoyed this. Hope this will help your workflow in the MPC 1. It was nice having you all here, and have a wonderful day.